Can I get a show of hands of how many of us ever realized that Finn not only took one of the swords from the Fight King's arena home with him after the ordeal, but he also shockingly busted the thing out during one of the show's most pivotal fight scenes.
In this moment, that is all moments, in the blink of an eye.
This is all very nice, but it doesn't solve the mystery.
Finn gets his hands on the steel sword during the season 3 episode titled That, and before he'd eventually use it to defeat Marja the Sky Witch and Darren the Ancient Sleeper when they'd both attempt to completely annihilate the Candy Kingdom all the way in season 6. Finn would also randomly decide to make it his weapon of choice when he was trying to scare the Ice King into unfreezing Jikan himself during the season 3 episode titled Steel.
And a bunch of butterflies! And a sword! Boom!
Now, the steel sword is incredibly interesting for several reasons.
Why do you stop?
Fight King, this Jake was a farce. Let me face the real Jake!
For starters, it's technically one of the very few swords owned by Finn that he never broke, lost, or had transformed into a tragic clone of himself on screen throughout the duration of the series.
What?
This hilariously means that when Finn managed to wear on the demon blood sword during the middle of season 5, and was told that he needed to find a new sword by Jake, instead of choosing to curse himself with the grass blade, our boy technically could have just went home to pick up the steel sword after that scene. Would have definitely saved him from having to live through a boatload of more trauma too.
I know that look. You just killed someone.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Finn's seriously epic sword collection, featuring entries like the Scarlet Sword, being the weapon that our boy started the series with before it would get destroyed in the season 2 episode titled The Real You.
What?
But wait! There's more! Finn, don't do anything stupid!
I can't help it, man! I'm all about stupid! Yeah!
The Root Sword being the weapon that Finn just happens to stumble upon on his birthday during the mystery train event that was planned for him by Jake.
You're alive!
The Demon Blood Sword being the secret family weapon that was created using the blood of Keoth the Demon and left for Finn and Jake by none other than their father Joshua.
You're gonna do great things. You're gonna do great.
There were also iconic weapons like the Grass Sword and Finn Sword, which need no introduction. Now, while all of these swords were undoubtedly awesome, and there's definitely still way more to discuss when it comes to the greater purpose on the show, right now I'm most interested in talking about the swords that no one else seems to have ever analyzed.
Not without a bigger sword!
Yes! Finish him!
Weapons like the Steel Sword, which again was first looted by Finn during one of the most mysterious episodes on the entire show. Weapons like the Small Sword, which debuted abruptly during this moment here.
Right here in my hand.
Before it would be fascinatingly used again by Sweet Pea to put an end to the remnant of the Leech that escaped into the main universe during the season 7 episode titled Crossover.
Yeesh.
Weapons like the Night Sword that was intriguingly the last sword that our boy ever laid his hands on in the land of Ooh, as far as we know anyway.
I humbly ask you for an infusion of Nidosphere magic upon this sword.
Okay.
There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the legacy of swords on Adventure Time, but I think that it makes the most sense for us to start by admiring the beautiful symbolism behind the sudden appearance and poetic destruction of a small sword. After the fusion of the Grass Sword and the Finn Sword, followed by the tragic birth of Fern, our boy Finn was forced to use the Small Sword as a temporary replacement until it would be possible for him to find a more permanent solution. Well, that's not entirely true. The Steel Sword and the Root Sword were both still in his arsenal, but what are you gonna do? The Small Sword, as its name suggests, had an incredibly thin blade similar to Rattleboss's weapon of choice, and because of this, Finn mainly used this sword for stabbing rather than his preferred method of slicing.
Oh, you're tricky, huh?
What makes this sword in particular so compelling is the fact that it was only ever used by Finn during the 3 most important moments in Fern's character journey.
Are you up here, Fern? Hey.
It first appeared during the season 8 episode titled Do No Harm, when Fern was desperately hoping to find a reason to live by taking the lives of boatloads of his own kind.
Chop up this trespassing dog!
We don't do that here.
Before asking his crazy grass wizard father for the significance behind his existence.
I just thought it would be cool. Grass blade. It's a sort of pun.
The second time that we'd get the chance to see the small sword was during the penultimate episode of season 9 titled Whispers. An episode in which, if you remember, featured the moment when Fern actually reached his breaking point when it came to the way that he was being treated by his peers. This was more notably the episode when Fern came up with his wild plan to become the only Finn in Ooh. The small sword would be used by Finn for the final time during the season 10 episode titled The Wild Hunt. This episode being set directly after the death of Fern gave us a very different Finn.
What? Whoa, I won this time.
What? But that's not fair.
A Finn who began to question his methods for stopping all of the many threats lurking in Ooh. The small sword would only be destroyed after our boy begins to forgive himself for the tragic result of his fight with Fern during the season 8 finale.
I did it.
After the small sword is melted in battle, Finn gets another sword soon after, except this one would be personally crafted for him from scratch by the Overlord of Darkness himself, Peppermint Butler.
This sword will serve you much better than your old cursed grass sword.
Will it serve him better than his abandoned steel sword though? Alright, I won't bring up the steel sword anymore.
Finally!
The Night Sword, being imbued with the powerful magic of Hansen Abadir from the Nightosphere, was yet again another cursed blade that is implied to have become Finn's weapon of choice up until the day that he died. All of his insanity and more is revealed to us during the season 10 episode titled Marcy and Hansen. After the Night Sword is initially created, and it's in this episode that we're shown the reason why this sword would become the single most legendary blade in all of Adventure Time canon. Hansen Abadir emotionally manipulating Finn, Jake, and Peppermint Butler into giving him a chance to see our girl Marceline again would be met with the shock of his life when it's revealed that the Night Sword was so powerful that it was straight up just able to imprison the person who lended their magic to create the weapon in the first place. One of the most notable abilities of the Night Sword is the fact that it's the only known sword on the entire show that is able to hurt and kill ghosts. This is never explicitly stated on the show, but based on everything that we're shown about the Night Sword during this episode, like how it was able to imprison Hansen Abadir and slice through ghosts with ease, it seems like one of the main features of this weapon was the ability to destroy supernatural threats. Despite the fact that it was specifically created for Finn to be able to defeat Princess Bubblegum's family, who definitely weren't supernatural threats.
My mind is the internet. I know every continuity mistake ever made on television.